for the people that aren't able to get on? Thank you. Okay, welcome everyone to week 1 of our Effortless Book Club. I'm so glad y'all are all joining us, and I hope we're all learning from the book. We're going to be discussing chapters 1 through 5, and it's what is it? The Effortless State, I guess, is the first part of the whole book. So if you can come off mute and share with the questions and come off video so we can all kind of interact together, that would be great. But if you can't, that's totally okay. So I'm just going to kind of read a question, and you can either answer it if you want. There's no pressure. You don't have to share if you don't want to, or if you want to just give a aha moment or a takeaway from that chapter, you can do that as well. So I kind of wanted to just start by if you have the book, go to page 10. I love that little mason jar analogy. I think that kind of sums up this chapter right in that picture. Because if you I don't know if y'all have heard that analogy of the mason jar, but if you put the big pebbles, the big important priorities in your jar first, then you have room for the pebbles, the sand, and the water, which indicates all the other nuances of life and just the little things. But if you put the sand in first or the water in first, you don't have room for the big things. And so it's about putting those big rocks in first. And I like that little picture and that analogy. And we'll go ahead and move on to chapter 1, invert, which is how does reframing hard to easy shift your mindset towards important task? Would anybody like to just come off mute and share?
Mhm. Well, I know one thing that can you hear me, Amy?
Yeah, go
One
ahead.
thing, this is Jennifer, by the way. One thing that I really liked, I made a note in the margin was on page 29, I wrote the word language in the margin. Because it says our language helps reveal our deeper assumptions. Think of these revealing phrases when we accomplish something important.
I'm gonna bag these pieces up.
We say, look at the blood, sweat, and tears, or we say the achievements were hard earned, or it's a hard day's work or a day's work. And that's kind of like the things that we were pre-programmed to think that hard work was commendable, you know? So I kind of picked up on that there. Other things, like where we would, people would mistrust us, things like easy money or easy for you to say, things like that, which kind of people are sort of demeaning us if they say it that way. But that's one of the things that I picked up on in that chapter.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer.
That wasn't really in inverting, but it wasn't inverting at all, but it was just something that I thought was worth noting.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else? Jen Walker, were you talking? I don't know if you're on mute.
Can't see me.
I like to think of choose your hard. I don't know if that's kind of the same analogy, but for instance, teaching my son to kind of do this or do that. It's hard in teaching him, and it's easier to just let him do it and then do it all myself. But then in the long run, teaching him, and then it's hard up front, but then it's easier a month later when he's doing it all automatically on his own. So I like that term, choose your hard. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Kathy.
What I got out of that chapter on page 25, when it says effortless state, when your computer is running slowly, all you have to do is hit a few buttons. To rid yourself of all the clutter, slowing down the hard drive of your mind by hitting a few buttons, you can be restored to your original effortless state. And what I made a note about was when someone, usually I have 3 things on my mind and someone calls and now I've got 4 things I'm juggling in my mind. And I made a visual by that with that paragraph, and it was to close some tabs. You know
Mm-hmm.
how when you have a lot of things running on your computer and you look up at the top and you've got like 10 tabs open?
Mm-hmm.
So my idea to make things easier is to notice when I'm juggling 4 thoughts and now I've got someone on the phone and I need to close some tabs. And I think I'm going to use those words. Hang on a minute. I got to close some tabs.
I love that. That's so good. And it's
I love
really
that
like,
too.
yeah. And there's really no such thing as multitasking. We're really just shifting from one thing to another at a rapid speed.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. And then it just kind of slows down our performance and how effective we are at everything we do because we're constantly just
Don't ask me
starting
how
and
to get it
stopping,
back.
restarting and restarting, stopping and restarting. So, did anybody else want to share anything from that chapter? Okay, we'll move on to chapter 2, enjoy. Can you think of a meaningful task you dread? How could you make it more enjoyable? So I'm gonna totally like show y'all my nerdy little thing that I like to do is I make these little charts with all these, they got the little grid lines. I don't know if y'all can see it, and I write down like my goals on there. And then it's so fun to like at the end of the day, like I have it on my nightstand and I check off what I did or didn't do. And I have like a point system and they all equal points. And then I add up my points at the end of the week. And then the next week I try to see if I can get myself more points. So I know that's crazy, but that's kind of how I make like the goals I'm working on more enjoyable because it's satisfying to like check it off at the end of the day and then see if I beat my record from one week to the next. Um, how do y'all make like tasks that are kind of, and they gave it a good example in the book about how he had to make all these calls and so he decided to do it from his hot tub. And he, at the end, he was like wishing he had more people to call. I thought that was really neat. So I'm curious, what do y'all do to, or how would you answer that question? Or what takeaways did you have from that chapter?
I
Well, I
like,
did exactly that today. I did laundry, folded laundry, had piles of laundry on the bed, all spread out. And we have a TV in there. And so I turned on a series that I'm currently watching. And it was amazing how fast the laundry got folded. It was very good. And I folded it.
yeah.
Awesome. Good job. What else do y'all do?
In my bathroom, I'm lucky enough to have a huge bathroom counter and a huge mirror. So I lay everything out on my bathroom counter the way that I need to use it. So I have soap for my hands, I have washcloths, I have my makeup, like I have my makeup next to my rouge, next to my lipstick, next to my everything is laid out, and I go down the line to make sure I do all of it every day. So like I have perfume. Um, in other words, I'm a visual learner and I have to have visual cues to make me do that thing. And it's even better if I line it up in the order that I'm going to do it. So that
Oh,
helps me a
neat.
lot.
Yeah, so you don't miss a step.
Right.
Cool. I like that. Um, what else?
There's a thing, I think it's on page 50 that talks about taking care of your finances and the bills and everything.
Hmm.
And they have a financial meeting. I thought that was really cool. It's like they tidy up a messy area because the finances is a messy area. They're like tidying it up. So
Hmm.
I thought that was neat. So it's just creating order out of chaos and applying that to your finances too. It's almost like you're cleaning off the kitchen table. You have to take care of your finances. And I do the finances like weekly and I have spreadsheets and everything. I actually love to do it. Um, but it depends on you. But if you got it set up right, it can be fun. Like you're gonna go check this off, check that off, those kinds of things.
Yeah. It kind of is satisfying knowing that like it gets done and that you don't have to stress or worry or have that like, where am I at, you know?
Right. Right.
Okay. Did anybody put any of these new like chapters into practice this week? We had anybody like as you were reading it, did you do anything different throughout the day? I know that for me, I started trying to be more mindful of only doing one thing at a time. So a lot of times like I'll be in an app and I'll be listening to something I want to listen to and I made myself go like pause what I was listening to handle like a notification or something. So whereas before I would find myself just trying to, I don't know, multitask, but this week I caught myself like not even like intentionally like plan to do it. It just started happening. So did anybody else have notice anything this week where um you just started doing things different based on something you read?
It was not this chapter, but the part about complaining and gratitude.
Okay.
I was complaining about like three different things at the Airbnb where we're staying, but then I said, wait a minute, just stop it. I like this, and this.
Good.
You know. So
Yeah,
there was that, and I also went to bed earlier last night.
good. Awesome, awesome. Okay, did anybody else want to share on chapter 2 with anything that they do to make things more enjoyable?
I don't like to check emails, and I was thinking of making
Oh,
that like part of my routine somehow each day, and I can unsubscribe, organize it, and delete some things. But I also started, not this week because I wasn't here, but a couple weeks ago, I started making like a hot coffee or a cold drink or something to take it in there with me. So it's almost comforting, like, okay, it's slow down time. We're gonna sit down and do
Mm-hmm.
some work so I can focus on that.
Good, good. All right. We'll move
yeah.
on to, go ahead. Did somebody else want to
I
share?
so I'm totally. I just started the book today because I was
Okay.
finishing the book, but I was just looking at chapter 2, and I like what he said about. I think it's chapter 2 about rituals. How
Mm-hmm.
rituals make essential habits easier because you're infusing the habits with meaning. So instead of just doing the habit, like what you're doing, there's meaning in it. And he referenced Marie Kondo, like where she um, when you're letting go of things, you're supposed to thank the item that you're discarding. And so he just gives some examples of different rituals. And I thought that was a cool thing. I was trying to think if I had any rituals like that, but something to think about.
Yeah. I like to, I don't know if it's a ritual, but like when I'm washing dishes, it's not so enjoyable. I like to think I'm so grateful I have dishes to wash because that means I had food to eat and I had money to buy groceries. So I don't know if it's a ritual, but it's kind of like when I'm doing something unenjoyable, I like to think that, like if I'm doing laundry, I like to think, oh, I'm grateful I have clothes to wear. Or if I'm doing just chores around the house or, you know, eh, problems with my kid or whatever, I'm like, well, I'm grateful I have a kid because there's all these things that we complain about, but like other people don't have clothes or food or kids and they want kids. And so there's, you can try to reframe it into a positive, like I'm grateful I have a kid that drives me nuts sometimes, you know. But okay.
I
Thanks for
like to
sharing, everyone. Go
how
ahead.
they played the Disney music, the soundtracks. I really liked that. I'm gonna try that after dinner, and they had to call the kids back to do
Uh-huh.
dishes, and then they played some of the soundtracks from Disney or some of the old shows.
Yeah. Make
I
it
want-
fun.
Yeah, I want to do that.
That's good. Yeah. All right, we'll move on to
House.
number.
And Amy, on page 52, I even wrote down on the bottom part, I wrote in my own writing, I wrote invite joy into daily routines.
Hmm.
Awesome. Yes. Okay. So I like doing book clubs, because I feel like a lot of times if you're into personal development, a lot of times we read books and then it's just like we get the knowledge and we don't ever put it into practice. And with book clubs, when we talk about it and discuss it, we're more likely to actually like do some of it because the knowledge is not really that helpful to us if we're not implementing anything. So At the end, if we have time, I'd like to challenge everybody to kind of state one thing that you plan or that you will want to commit to doing and putting into practice from this section. So, chapter 3, release. And they talked about stormtroopers. I had never heard them like that, but that word for it. But what lingering thoughts or commitments are holding mental space, younger versions or stormtroopers you don't need. Um, and for me, I'll just share the quote. I like it a lot. It says, when you focus on what you lack, you lose what you have. When you focus on what you have, you get what you lack. And I think that's so, so true. It's kind of like that saying that what you appreciate appreciates. Um, and it's true because when we're focused on our problems, it seems like we just kind of create more. But when we're focused on like what we have, we get in that space of gratitude, and it just seems like you notice everything. So I noticed a shift this week. I was just like, I always check my bank account in the morning. I'm like, what came out, what went in, where am I at, and I was just like, maybe I need to just like trust that, I can maybe just check it once or twice a week. And some crazy things happened. Like I found $15 on the ground when I was coming out of the library. It's so weird. And then I went to a job, and the lady was like had other plans, so she let me leave early, but I still got paid. And then another thing that happened, it was just so simple. I went to McDonald's, and I just get coffee at McDonald's. I don't ever get the food, so I've never thought about getting their app. And they ask you every time, are you going to be using your mobile app today? And I was just like, no. And then I was just, usually I'm kind of irritated with it. But when I drove up to the window, I said, do you have rude people get mad at you for asking them that? I was just real friendly. And she was like, yeah, sometimes. And I was like, I'm sorry you have to deal with that. I said, do people actually use the app? And she said, yeah, you can get your coffee for $1, and mine's like $1.61. So I was like, oh, I'm totally getting the app now, like because I want to save 61 cents every time. And so that's just a small thing of like that I'm grateful for, because had I not just kind of opened up a conversation, I would have never known that you actually save 61 cents. And so now I'm going to save 61 cents several times a week, which is going to add up. And that's just abundance. And when you recognize the little things, they get bigger and bigger and bigger. Anyway, I'll quit sharing, but I want someone else to share something you've kind of released and let go of, and like how it's affected you.
I like on page 54 and 55 when he talks about the guy that they said that he found a wallet on the ground, and he said he didn't find it, it was just a piece of string. And then he said he couldn't let go of it. He obsessed about it. His heart was so full of anger and indignation at the injustice, and he couldn't forgive. And even on his deathbed, he muttered it was just a little piece of string. But I think the important part of that was it says he could have let the matter go. He could have forgiven his accusers, and he could have allowed for their error. And in doing so, he could have gone on to be useful and industrious in the service of his community. But my whole point of in reading that was, I think sometimes, and the whole point of that paragraph to me is that, we're taught to forgive others, and that's how we're forgiven, if we forgive others and let it go and just let it go. But it's really, I think it's much harder to sometimes to forgive ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what that whole paragraph was about letting go and forgiving ourselves, and really forgiving ourselves, and letting our mind go to, yes, I made a mistake, but it was just a mistake, and people make mistakes because I'm not perfect. No one's perfect, and I can let that go.
And the
Yeah.
same for other people. They may have made a mistake as well, and accusing, that kind of thing.
Right.
I was agreeing to you. I was just adding to it.
Thank y'all for sharing. Yes, that's so true. Like it is sometimes, I feel like we are harder on ourselves sometimes than we are with others. And we need to practice self compassion and kindness. And I like to try to say, when I'm being hard on myself, is like, you're doing a good job considering the circumstances. So I always say that because it's always like, it's never like, yes, sometimes I am not doing a good job, but usually, like, when I don't meet my goal or I didn't do something I wanted to do, it's because a reason happened, like something came up. And I'm not saying like that's an excuse, but it's usually like you can only do certain circumstances only allow so much. So I like that. We do need to work on showing
Well,
compassion and forgiving ourselves as well.
I wrote down on the bottom of page 57, gratitude and positivity changes us, opens us up to possibilities, and it's contagious. So by doing
Absolutely.
that, you're keeping everything open for you, Amy.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else have any takeaways from that chapter? Or ways that you've kind of released things you don't need to kind of clear your mental space?
I have a question, kind of. I
Yeah.
don't know how to formulate this, but a lot of times, like, we're all reframing and trying to make things positive. But what if you have, like, a person in your life that just doesn't treat you right? I guess it's more of a boundary thing, but how we want to, like, forgive people or let it go. But at what point is that, like, hurting you then?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a hard call. I think that's a very, very personal choice that only you can make, when it comes to like your boundaries and like people that might be violating them. You have to decide what you can forgive, and sometimes we mistake forgiveness, I think, with like allowing, and you can allow, you can forgive, and then you can put up boundaries that protect you.
Activity.
So I don't know if that helps. I think that's, anybody else want to share on that?
I'll share a little bit.
Sure.
So on that end, when it's hard to, it's not like an easy escape and it's just kind of in your household or in your current environment. And it's a matter of just surviving it and trying to get through the day until maybe something changes and you can leave that situation, is to have something that is a outlet
Mhm.
so that you can, and I hate to say it in a distraction way because that's kind of saying it in a negative way, but just something as an outlet so that it allows you to have an exit space to do something to not focus on that.
Yeah.
Um, for me, there's two things. Um, so this past year has been extremely difficult in a certain area of my life, and two things have kept my head above water. One is hiking. I'm a hike leader for a women's group, and although I only do that on Sunday mornings because that's kind of my only time to do it, that has kept me just here instead of here, you know.
Mhm.
And it really has helped. And then the other thing, and I know it sounds very juvenile, but is like adult coloring books.
Mhm.
And sometimes I will pick a time, a space, and I will just color for an hour, maybe 30 minutes, depending on your time frame, right? But these are, some of the books that I have, or the coloring books that I have, they have positive messages on them. Some of them don't, but I just kind of just let everything go and just, that's the only thing I'm focused on. And it allows me that space to just not worry about that for just a minute.
Mhm.
Um, and then, of course, you go back and you juggle the things that you need to do. But having it some kind of outlet, whether it's writing, whether it's coloring, whether it's going outside, take a walk,
That's a good point.
whatever.
Thank you. Yes.
But needing an outlet to survive, in a sense, to get through the moment.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of the way I have been staying afloat, through a difficult time. I guess I'll just call it that.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
Yes. I hope that helped. So we've got two more. We'll move to chapter 4, which is rest. And it was, how have you experienced the power of genuine rest? What routines could help you pause to be more effective? So, anybody want to share on that question from chapter 4?
I don't have feedback on that, Amy.
Okay.
I did the audio side that I think it was Megan that provided. And in that audio, it doesn't really tell you what chapter you're on. It
Oh,
doesn't say
okay.
like chapter 1 starting or ending. So I have no idea what chapter I'm on.
Okay.
But I've gotten through a portion of the book. But just
Yeah.
as a FYI. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you for letting me know. I didn't
Uh-huh.
know that
Sure.
that's how it laid out. But
So I had a couple of things that I really made note of in that chapter, and one for me, and I actually it's in the writing, but I rewrote it at the top of page 71. I wrote, "Do not do more than you can recover from in the same time." That was so important to me because I have MS, and there's times that I would just go, go, go. I was one of those people in the beginning of the book when they talked about burnout and being proud of it and whatever,
mm-hmm.
but yeah, even my neurologist said, if I'm okay the next day, then I've not done too much. So you have to be able to recover from it. And then at the bottom of that page, the gymnast, that really hit me too, because she was, working so hard and then hurt herself because she went just like 1 minute too long. So that was
So
really
true. Like,
important.
your body's going to demand it if you don't give it to it.
So you just have to shift your approach and build in recovery time.
Right.
So
Good point. Thank you. Stephanie, is the Zoom going to end right at 30 minutes?
Yeah, so I think there's like 7 minutes left.
Oh, okay. Okay, we're good. Okay. I liked that term sleep debt. Like, I'd never heard it put that way, but then it said for every night we don't get the ideal 7 or 8 hours of shut eye. It's talked about after 10 days, you're racked up as much sleep debt. Um, that we same effect as not sleeping for an entire night. So I never heard that term sleep debt. And then um, I would just challenge everybody next time you feel like you need rest and you feel like you're shamed for it, to call them out on it in a nice way. Just be like, hey, I cherish my body and I know that my body needs rest and I don't feel guilty about it. Like, I need 7 or 8 hours. I mean, if you can, but don't let people shame you for that. Like, that is not okay. And I think we have a society of thinking that like sleep is a luxury and like you don't need it. And I think we need to work to change that, because it's not a luxury, it's a necessity. And so, yeah. Anybody else want to share on rest?
I think too, we can shame ourselves with resting. So not
I,
just others, but ourselves.
Yeah.
I have a really good answer to sleep. It's the best thing that I've ever come across. And I don't know how y'all feel about wearables, but I have a smartwatch and I have an app called Welltory.
Mm-hmm.
And it tells me exactly what time I went to sleep, what my heart rate was, what the noise was around me, how many times I tossed and turned, how many minutes of REM sleep I got, how many times I woke up, went to the bathroom. And at the end, it shows me exactly a chart of exactly what my sleep looked like. And it shows it by the last night, by the last week, by the last month, and the year. Like, it's so cool. And it has helped me in a million different ways because it tells me when I wake up in the morning, it tells me exactly how many hours and minutes I got of sleep and how prepared I am for the day on a scale of 0 to 100.
Oh, that's so neat. It's
can
good
you
to have that data.
can you put that in the chat? What that app was or
Oh, the
whatever?
app was.
Yeah, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Jen, were
Because
you going to share? Go
when
Yeah,
we
ahead.
talk, go ahead.
I was gonna share something. I have my GPS on, so I'm hoping that it doesn't come through. But as far as like do I think sleeping's really important? I sure do. And it is interesting, though. I don't talk about this a ton because I think there would be a lot of shaming for my husband in this other direction. That he's a football coach and he's always pulled like during the football season, people just don't understand it. And so, like, I don't talk about it because people just give the judgment straight up and they give a lot of, like, my family just doesn't understand it. And to a degree, I don't understand it either. But like, he pulls all nighters on Fridays or Friday after the game. He never goes to sleep. And then each night of the week, he's getting maybe four, sometimes maybe five, sometimes less, and it's ridiculous. And I do believe that his brain can't. Like, I just think there's not a physical, like when in the other book that we had read earlier, he was talking about how other people like suffer with their health like later on. Like, I really am I'm concerned for him because it's been, I don't know, 18, 20 years that he's done that. And so it's like I'm thinking maybe I should be getting him an Aura ring because that's what I use for my sleep tracking. But I think that it is, I just want to say, I wish I could control my husband and get him more sleep, but I can't. And I do think that I'm not going to fall into that trap. And I have just gone to bed and I'm not going to sit there and stay up with him. So I'm glad that that he
Yeah.
seems to touch on that subject in the books that he writes because sleep is so important. That's all. I don't know why.
I am
Yeah.
afraid that it catches up with you eventually. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll go ahead and move on. Thank you for sharing, everyone, to the last chapter and its notice. And the question, describe a moment when being fully present changed your experience and how might you train that attentiveness? So I'll share real quick. I just wrote down a phrase and it says, listening isn't hard. It's stopping our minds from wondering that's hard. Being in the moment isn't hard, but thinking about the past and future all the time is hard. It's not the noticing itself that's hard. It's ignoring all the noises in our environment that is hard. So did anybody want to share? We've only got a few minutes left, but is there any last thoughts on that chapter that y'all like to share?
That question gave me peace because there's times I stop and look at nature and it's like time just stands still for me. So
Good. Yes.
yeah.
That's so good. I like nature. I think it really does a lot of benefits for our bodies and our minds and our health and just everything. It's so good. Um,
I'll vouch for that.
yeah.
I definitely am biased to getting outside and being in nature. Um, and the other thing that I've read too is touching soil. You know, even if you're not a plant enthusiast, touching soil and planting something, there is something about that connection to the brain about touching earth and doing something to that nature can put you in a moment of presence. And also a good spot to have some clear thinking.
Yeah.
You're being barefoot.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
It talks about how to see more clearly and the inner game with relationships, the power of presence. Um, that's good. Those are all really good. I think nature, I love nature, and I didn't really have a answer for that other than like I liked that quote that was on page. I think I highlighted it, the one that I read on page 81. But um it's going to end soon. Does anybody want to share any ways that they plan to implement anything from what they've heard or listened to so far in the next week?
I'm gonna reread it. I didn't
Good.
read the part about the grudge. We didn't talk about that, but that was very powerful to me. Like, what are we hiring it for? I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
about that. So I'm gonna read that again.
I'm going to make my husband read the inner game of relationship tennis.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm going to
I'm
make
gonna
myself
finish
stop.
it.
I'm gonna quit multitasking and trying to do a bunch of things really fast and like try to just do one thing and be fully present and then finish it and move to the next. Anyone else?
You know, when they were talking about the multitasking kind of thing, but being laser focused on what's more important, even if other things were going on, it just made me think of mother and child, or an owner with a pet. You know, like if you hear that baby cry, everything else is gone, right? You hear it. You know, and the same thing with the animal.
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for hopping on. It's about to cut us off. But I hope everybody's enjoying this book. Thank y'all all for just getting in and sharing your feedback. I love doing this together, like I said, because we put it into practice better and we implement it better when we do it as a group. So I hope y'all all have a great week. And next week, same time, and we'll be doing it's in the chat. We'll put it in the chat, the chapters, and I think Megan's gonna host for us next week. And then week 3 is Kathleen's volunteered, and week 4 is Jen Walker. So thanks everyone, and y'all have a great night. Bye bye.
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 Thank you.